your position is always transcendental to the material creation, whereas the empiric, meaning materialistic, whereas the empiric attempt to understand you is material, as are its objectives and instruments. In other words, you can't really understand Krishna by any mundane process. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is said that the transcendental name, qualities, activities, paraphernalia, etc., of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be understood with our material senses. The attempt of the empiric philosophers to understand the absolute truth by speculation is always futile because their process of understanding, their objective, and the instruments by which they try to understand the absolute truth are all material. The Lord is aprakrita, beyond the creation of the material world. This fact is also accepted by the great impersonalist Sankaracharya. Narayana paro vyaktat, andam avyakta sambhavan. Avyakta, or the original material cause, is beyond this material manifestation and is the cause of the material world. Because Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the material world, one cannot speculate upon him by any material method. One has to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by the transcendental method of Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 1855. Bhaktya mam abhijananti yamanyasya smitakrita tatulam tatkito yadva vishteka nantaram. Only by devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. Limited, only by, okay. The difference between the impersonalists and the personalists is that the impersonalists, limited by their speculative processes, cannot approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the devotees please the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his transcendental loving service. Sevan Mukhe, due to the service attitude of the devotee, the Lord is revealed to him. The Supreme Lord cannot be understood by materialistic persons, even though he is present before them. Wow. Interesting. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna therefore condemns such materialists as mudhas. Mudha means rascal. It is said in the Gita, only rascals think of Lord Krishna as an ordinary person. They do not know what Lord Krishna's position is or what his transcendental potencies are. Unaware of his transcendental potencies, the impersonalists deride the person of Lord Krishna, whereas the devotees, by dint of their service attitude, can understand him as the personality of Godhead. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also confirmed that it is very difficult to understand the personality of Godhead and personality of the Lord. Okay, well, that's the takeaway. It's very difficult to understand the personality of the Lord. But it is possible by devotional service. One can understand the transcendental form of the Lord. So the impersonalists, they're limited by their speculative processes. So they cannot even approach the personality, Supreme Personality Godhead. Whereas the devotees please the Supreme Personality Godhead through his transcendental loving service. And due to this service attitude of the devotee, the Lord is revealed to him. Okay, so the Supreme Lord cannot be understood by materialistic persons, even though he is present before them. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna therefore condemns such materialists as mudas. Muda means rascal. It is said in the Gita, only the rascals think of Lord Krishna as an ordinary person. They do not know what Lord Krishna's position is or what his transcendental potencies are. Unaware of his transcendental potencies, the impersonalists derive the person of Lord Krishna, whereas the devotees, by dint of their service attitude, can understand him as the personality of Godhead. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also confirmed that it is very difficult to understand the personality of the Lord. Okay. Canto 3, chapter 7, verse number 32. King Indra said, my dear Lord, your transcendental form with 8 hands and weapons in each of them appears for the welfare of the entire universe. And it is very pleasing to the mind and eyes. In such a form, your lordship is always prepared to punish the demons who are envious of your devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is generally understood from revealed scriptures that Lord Vishnu appears with 4 hands. But in this particular sacrificial arena, Lord Vishnu arrived with 8 hands. King Indra said, even though we are accustomed to see your 4-handed Vishnu form, this appearance with 8 hands is as real as the 4-handed form. As Lord Brahma had said, to realize the transcendental form of the Lord is beyond the power of the senses. In reply to that statement by Brahma, King Indra said that even though the transcendental form of the Lord is not perceivable by the material senses, his activities and his transcendental form can be understood. The Lord's uncommon features, uncommon activities, uncommon beauty can be perceived even by an ordinary man. For example, when Lord Krishna appeared just like a 6 or 7-year-old boy in Vrindavana, he was approached by the residents there. There were torrents of rain, and the Lord saved the residents of Vrindavana by lifting Govardhan Hill and resting it on the little finger of his left hand for 7 days. This uncommon feature of the Lord should convince even the materialistic persons who want to speculate to the limit of their material senses. The activities of the Lord are pleasing to the experimental vision also. But impersonalists will not believe in his identity because they study the personality of the Lord by comparing their own personality to his. Oh, well, that's a big mistake. Because men in the material world cannot lift a hill, they do not believe that the Lord can lift one. They accept the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam to be allegorical. Well, let's put, okay, allegorical means it's something that is not factual.
Symbolic.
Yeah, okay. They accept the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam to be allegorical, and they try to interpret them in their own way. But factually, the Lord lifted the hill in the presence of all inhabitants of Vrindavana, as corroborated by great acharyas, authors like Vyasa, Narada, and Narada. Everything about the Lord, his activities, pastimes, and uncommon features should be accepted as is. And in this way, even in our present condition, we can understand the Lord. In the instance herein, King Indra confirmed, your presence with 8 hands is as good as your presence with 4 hands. There is no doubt about it. Okay, so there's no doubt about it. So we'll go on to the next verse. Text 33. The wives of the performers of the sacrifice said, my dear Lord, this sacrifice was arranged under the instruction of Brahma, but unfortunately, Lord Shiva, being very angry at Daksha, devastated the entire scene. And because of his anger, the animals meant for sacrifice are lying dead. Oh, that's terrible. Therefore, the preparations of the yajna have been lost. Now, by the glance of your lotus eyes, the sanctity of the sacrificial arena may be again invoked. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Animals were offered in sacrifice in order to give them renewed life. That was the purpose of having animals there. Offering an animal in sacrifice and giving him renewed life was the evidence of the strength of chanting mantras. Unfortunately, when Daksha's sacrifice was devastated by Lord Shiva, some of the animals were killed. One was killed just to replace the head of Daksha. Their bodies were lying about, and the sacrificial arena was turned into a crematorium, meaning a place where they're all dead bodies. Thus, the real purpose of yajna was lost. Yeah, instead of, just killing an animal, the whole purpose is, if you say the mantras correctly, you can kill the animals and then bring them back to life. In other words, you're not allowed to kill anything unless you can rejuvenate it and bring it back to life. So obviously, in this age of Kali Yuga, if you kill an animal, you're not going to be able to bring it back to life. Therefore, animal sacrifice is forbidden in Kali Yuga, just as sacrifice of human beings. There used to be human sacrifices also, but the Brahmanas had the power to bring the human being or the animal back to life. All that is forbidden now in Kali Yuga. Lord Vishnu, being the ultimate objective of such sacrificial ceremonies, was requested by the wives of the priests to glance over the yajna arena and with his causeless mercy, so that the routine work of the yajna might be continued. The purport here is that animals should not be unnecessarily killed. They were used to prove the strengths of the mantras and were to have been rejuvenated by the use of the mantras. They should not have been killed as they were by Lord Shiva to replace the head of Daksha with an animal's head. It was pleasing to see an animal sacrificed and rejuvenated. Yeah, anyone would like to see that. And that pleasing atmosphere had been lost. The wives of the priests requested that the animals be brought back to life by the glance of Lord Vishnu to make a pleasing yajna. Yeah, you're not allowed to kill an animal unless you can bring it back to life again. That's why in Kali Yuga, animal sacrifices are forbidden. No one has that power anymore. Text 34. The sages said, Dear Lord, your activities are most wonderful, and although you do everything by your different potencies, you are not at all attached to such activities. You are not even attached to the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by the great demigods like Brahma, and who pray to achieve her mercy. Well, yeah, if the Lord was attached, then he would not be transcendentally situated. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord has no desire to achieve any result from his wonderful activities, nor has he any need to perform them. But still, in order to give an example to people in general, he sometimes acts, and those activities are very wonderful. He is not attached to anything. Namam karmani lampanti. Although he acts very wonderfully, he is not at all attached to anything. Bhagavad Gita 4:14. He is self-sufficient, meaning he's satisfied in himself. He doesn't need to go outside of himself for satisfaction. The example is given here that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is always engaged in the service of the Lord, but still he is not attached to her. Even great demigods like Brahma worship the goddess of fortune in order to win her favor. But although the Lord is worshipped by many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, that's a very important statement, he is not at all attached to any one of them. This distinction concerning the exalted transcendental position of the Lord is specifically mentioned by the great sages. He is not like the ordinary living entity who is attached to the results of pious activities. Text 35. The siddhas, or those who are transcendentally situated, prayed like an elephant that has suffered in a forest fire, but can forget all its troubles by entering a river. Our minds, O Lord, always merge in the nectarian river of your transcendental pastimes. That's very nice. And they desire never to leave such transcendental bliss, which is as good as the pleasure of merging in the absolute. Well, the nectarian river of your transcendental pastimes. So that's what we're doing. We're hearing the nectarian river of Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This statement in the form of the siddhas, or those who have attained perfection, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka, where the 8 kinds of material perfection are complete. The residents of Siddhaloka have full control in the 8 kinds of yogic perfection. But from their statement, it appears that they are pure devotees. They always merge in their statement. They always merge in the nectarian river of hearing of the pastimes of the Lord. Hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is called Krishna Katha. Similarly, there's a statement by Prahlad Maharaj that those who are always merged in the ocean of the nectar of describing the Lord's pastimes are liberated and have no fear of the material condition of life. Yeah, because they have no interest in the mundane things of the material world. The Siddhas say that the mind of an ordinary person is full of anxieties. It is, that's true. The example is given of the elephant who has suffered in a forest fire and who enters in a river for relief. If persons who are suffering in the forest fire of this material existence will only enter into the nectarian river of the description of the pastimes of the Lord, they will forget all their troubles. Well, here's a panacea for all the problems that people have in the world. And they should bathe in the description of the pastimes of the Lord, and they'll forget all their troubles. They will forget all the troubles of the miserable material existence. The siddhas do not care for fruitive activities. Well, that's good. That's very good. Such as performing sacrifices and achieving the good results. They simply merge in the transcendental discussions of the pastimes of the Lord. That makes them completely happy without care for pious or impious activities. For those who are always in Krishna consciousness, there is no need to perform any kind of pious or impious sacrifices or activities. Krishna consciousness is itself complete, for it includes all the processes praised in the Vedic scriptures. Well, that's the argument not to give up any devotional service, which will help someone achieve all perfections of all the other types of yoga. The wife of Daksha prayed as follows: "My dear Lord, it is very fortunate that you have appeared in this arena of sacrifice. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, and I request that you be pleased on this occasion." And that's a nice statement. The sacrificial arena is not beautiful without you, just as a body is not beautiful without the head. Yeah, that's for sure. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Yeah, so one time there was a man that went into the forest, and he got his head cut off. And then his wife was looking for him, and she encountered this person that was in the forest, and she said, "Did you see my husband?" And he said, maybe. She said, what do you mean, maybe? Well, first tell me something. When your husband left home this morning, did he have his head on or not? So, in other words, that was a roundabout way of telling her that her husband's head had been cut off. Another name of Lord Vishnu is Yagneswara. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that all activities should be performed as Vishnu Yagya. In other words, only yagyas or sacrifices done for Vishnu, for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. Unless we please him, whatever we do is the cause of our bondage in the material world. Yeah, in other words, if we don't please Krishna, but perform sacrifices for our own sense gratification, then we remain entangled by karma in the material world. This is confirmed herein by the wife of Daksha. Without your presence, the grandeur of this sacrificial ceremony is useless, just as a body without the head, however decorated it may be, is useless. The comparison is equally applicable to the social body. Okay, that's a very nice statement. The social body. In other words, the social body or normal society. If you don't have any brahmanas, bona fide brahmanas, then everything will be haphazard and no real spiritual advancement can be made. Material civilization is very proud of being advanced, but actually, the useless trunk of a body without a head material civilization is very proud of it of being advanced, but it is actually the useless trunk of a body without a head. Without Krishna consciousness, without an understanding of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, any advancement in a civilization, no matter how sophisticated, is of no value. There is a statement in the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya, Chati Shastram Japas Tapa, Apran Shaiva Dehasya, Mandanam Loka Ranjanam. The purport is that sometimes when a friend or relative dies, especially among lower class men, the dead body is decorated, dressed and ornamented, the body is taken in procession. That sort of decoration of the dead body has no actual value because the life force is already gone. Similarly, any aristocracy, any social prestige, or any advancement of material civilization without Krishna consciousness is as good as the decoration of a dead body. The name of the wife of Daksha was Prasuti, and she was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Her sister, Devahuti, was married to Kardama Muni, and Kapila Deva, the personality Godhead, became her son. Prasuti, then, was the aunt of Lord Vishnu. She was asking the favor of Lord Vishnu in an affectionate mode, since she was his aunt. She sought some special favor. Also significant in this verse is that the Lord is pleased with the goddess of fortune. Wherever Lord Vishnu is worshipped, naturally there is the favor of the goddess of fortune. Lord Vishnu is addressed as Amrita, transcendental. The demigods, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, were produced after the creation, but Lord Vishnu existed before the creation. He is addressed, therefore, as Amrita. Lord Vishnu is worshipped with his internal energy by the Vaishnavas. Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, implored the Lord to turn the priests into Vaishnavas instead of simply fruitive workers, performing sacrifices for some material benefits. Well, she's a very smart lady. It's very smart. Okay. So it says the purport is that sometimes when a friend or relative dies, especially among lower class men, the dead body is decorated, dressed, and ornamented. The body is taken in procession. That sort of decoration of the dead body has no actual value because the life force is already gone. Similarly, any aristocracy, any social prestige, or any advancement of material civilization uh, without Krishna consciousness is as good as the decoration of a dead body. The name of the wife of Daksha was Prasuti, and she was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Her sister, Devahuti, was married to Kardama Muni, and Kapila Deva, the personality godhead, became her son. Prasuti then was the aunt of Lord Vishnu. She was asking the favor of Lord Vishnu in an affectionate mode, since she was his aunt. She sought some special favor. Also significant in this verse is that the Lord is praised with the goddess of fortune. Wherever Lord Vishnu is worshipped, naturally there is the favor of the goddess of fortune. In other words, you should never worship just Lord Vishnu without the presence of the goddess of fortune, Krishna's eternal associate. Wherever Lord Vishnu is worshipped, naturally there is the favor of the goddess of fortune. Lord Vishnu is addressed as Amrita, transcendental. The demigods, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, were produced after the creation, but Lord Vishnu existed before the creation. He is addressed, therefore, as Amrita. Lord Vishnu is worshipped with his internal energy by the Vaishnavas. Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, implored the Lord to turn the priests into Vaishnavas instead of simply fruitive workers performing sacrifices for some material benefits. We should be very careful that our devotee pundits or devotee, let's say, devotees who are performing Vedic sacrifices do not become mundane and perform sacrifices for material benefits. They should only perform sacrifices that glorify Lord Vishnu. If someone says, "Oh, my mother is very sick, can you do some puja to help her get better?" That's not bona fide. That type of puja is not bona fide. But any sacrificial performance to glorify the Lord is bona fide. So Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. So he knows what the needs are or the desires are of all living entities. So we don't have to ask specifically for some material benediction. But we should worship the Lord by glorifying his transcendental qualities. Then we're not making a mistake. But if we worship the Lord for petty, let's say, advantages such as healing the sickness of a relative, etc., that is not actually bona fide. So someone would say, well, wait a minute. When your Gurudev, your Prabhupada, you were all praying to Krishna to save him or to free him from his sickness. That is, I mean, the whole point is that you don't have to pray to heal somebody's sickness. You simply have to pray to glorify the Lord. The Lord, obviously, being in the heart of every living entity, knows what you would like to see happen. But if you specifically pray with the idea that you can heal someone's sickness, that is a material activity. It's not spiritual. Because there is a want, there is a purpose, material purpose behind the chanting and praying. We should not have any material purpose when we chant and pray. It should be simply to glorify the Lord. And the Lord, he's in our heart, he's in the heart of every living entity. He knows what everyone's situation is. So we don't have to remind him in any way. We simply have to glorify him. So many times, pundits are approached by mundane people when there is a calamity. Maybe a member of their family is very sick, or a family member had an accident, or this or that, or the family member is dying. That is mundane, that is materialistic worship. But if we engage in Krishna consciousness without attachment to any result, but simply to glorify the Lord, and obviously to glorify the Lord, we have to hear about his transcendental qualities. Then that is bona fide. But if we're just hearing, oh, please, Lord Krishna, please save my father, please save my mother, they're sick, and you make them better. That type of praying is not going to help you very much. But if you simply glorify the transcendental qualities of the Lord, he knows what you need or what is good for you and what is not good for you. So you should just depend on the decision of the Lord and not try and force the Lord in one way or another. You can't force the Lord anyway. So Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, implored the Lord to turn the priests into Vaishnavas instead of simply fruitive workers performing sacrifices for some material benefits. Well, see, that's a very significant statement. And that can happen even today. Some of our devotees who are pundits, they might uh, perform sacrifices simply for fruitive purposes for some material benefits. That should not be the goal of devotees, priests. Therefore, it says the demigods, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, were produced after the creation, but Lord Vishnu existed before the creation. He is addressed, therefore, as Amrita. Lord Vishnu is worshipped with his internal energy, meaning Lakshmi, by the Vaishnavas. Prasuti, the wife of Daksha, implored the Lord to turn the priests into Vaishnavas instead of simply fruitive workers performing sacrifices for some material benefits. Yeah, so the genuine priests, if they're Vaishnavas, then they will not perform any sacrifices for fruitive activities or desires. Then what is their purpose in performing sacrifices? It's to purify the hearts of people so that they can chant the holy name of the Lord without any material, let's say, motive. Everything depends on the motive. So you can have two people chanting mantras. One is praying to get this or that material benefit, and the other person is simply praying to glorify the Lord. So everything depends on what a person's motive is. And the motive will be examined by Krishna. If you have a pure motive to please the Lord and glorify the Lord, then you don't have to ask the Lord for anything. He knows what you need and what you don't need. Therefore, the final, let's say, result is in the hand of the Lord. Therefore, devotees don't worry about the outcome. They're more concerned about glorifying the Lord without this, adamant meditation on healing the sick body or whatever goal they have. You cannot have a pure prayer if you have a material desire. However, without any material desires, if we glorify the Lord, and the Lord knows what we need and what we don't need, so it's up to Him, and therefore we will accept whatever He decides. But we should purely glorify the Lord. That's a prayer. It shouldn't be, oh, give me this, give me that. That's not a prayer. That's a business transaction. But if we simply pray to glorify the Lord, well, He knows everything, and He'll be the final arbiter. He'll be the final person who makes a decision. And we can't really influence the Lord. Therefore, we very patiently go on chanting Hare Krishna, and not with this idea in the mind all the time that, oh, we need him to do this. He has to do this. Please do this. Don't let us down. We'll be very unhappy if you let us down, etc. That's not the right consciousness. We should be ready to accept whatever the Lord decides. Therefore, we can purely chant Hare Krishna in that state of mind. But if we're always thinking, oh, he has to do this, he has to do this, he has to do this, then that's not a pure state of mind. And oftentimes, Krishna doesn't give people what they want. And rather, therefore, we should not be attached to a particular asset by chanting Hare Krishna. We should simply be uh, completely immersed in glorifying the Lord and not worry about what the result is going to be. The result may be good, the result may be bad, but our determination to worship the Lord should never be compromised. Okay, any questions? All right, so we're on text 37. The governors of various planets spoke as follows. Dear Lord, we believe only in our direct perception, but under the circumstances, we do not know whether we have actually seen you with our material senses. By our material senses, we can simply perceive the cosmic manifestation. But you are beyond the five elements. You are the sixth. If we see you, therefore, as a creation, you are the sixth. We see you, therefore, as a creation of the material world. In other words, they're not seeing correctly the Lord. He's not a creation of the material world. The governors, purport, the governors of the various planets are certainly materially opulent and very puffed up. Such persons are unable to understand the transcendental eternal form of the Lord. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that only persons who have anointed their eyes with love of Godhead can see the personality of Godhead in every step of their activities. Also, in the prayers of Bhagavad Gita 1.8.26, it is stated that only those who are akinchana gocharam, who are not materially puffed up, can see the supreme personality of Godhead. Others are bewildered and cannot think of the absolute truth. Okay, that's very important statements. So, in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that only persons who have anointed their eyes with love of Godhead can see the personality of Godhead in every step of their activities. That's a very important statement. Shrita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadeva Hidesu Vilokayan Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami. Yeah, so only persons who have anointed their eyes with the love of God can see the personality of Godhead in every step of their activities. And in the prayers of Kunti, it is stated that only those who are akinchana gochram, who are not materially puffed up, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Others are bewildered and cannot even think of the absolute truth. Okay, Hare Krishna. Text 38. The great mystics said, Dear Lord, persons who see you as non-different from themselves, knowing that you are the super soul of all living entities, are certainly very, very dear to you. You are very favorable toward those who engage in devotional service, accepting you as the Lord and themselves as the servants. By your mercy, you are always inclined in their favor. So these are the great mystics speaking. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is indicated in this verse that the monists and great mystics know the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one. This oneness is not the misunderstanding that a living entity is equal in every respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This monism is based on pure knowledge as described and confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.17. Priyo hi janino gyartam aham sa chamama priya. The Lord said that those who are advanced in transcendental knowledge and know the science of Krishna consciousness are very dear to him. And he is also very dear to them. Those who are actually in perfect knowledge of the science of God know that the living entities are superior energy of the Supreme Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter. The material energy is inferior, and the living entities are superior energy. Energy and the energetic are non-different. Therefore, energies possess the same quality as the energetic. Energetic means the source of the energy. Energy and the energetic are non-different. Therefore, energies possess the same quality as the energetic. Persons who are in full knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies and knowing their own constitutional position, are certainly very, very dear to the Lord. Persons, however, who may not even be conversant with the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who always think of the Lord with love and faith, feeling that he is great and that they are his parts and parcels, ever his servitors, are even more favored by him. The particular significance of this verse is that the Lord is addressed as Vatsala. Vatsala means always favorably disposed. The Lord's name is Bhaktavatsala. The Lord is famous as Bhaktavatsala, which means that he is always favorably inclined to the devotees, whereas he is never addressed anywhere in the Vedic literature as Jnana Vatsala. Jnani Vatsala, inclined towards the Jnanis, those who are simply pundits who have knowledge, but not necessarily love of God. So the Lord is Bhaktavatsala, which means that he is always favorably inclined to the devotees, whereas he is never addressed anywhere in the Vedic literature as Jnanavatsala. Okay. So there's a difference between the Jnanis and the devotees. The Jnanis might have knowledge of the Lord, but not necessarily love. The genuine devotees have love for the Lord. And that is the perfection of self-realization, when you actually develop love for the Lord. Simply being knowledgeable of the Lord, okay, it's not bad, it's good, but it's not enough to catch the, let's say, interest of the Lord. But when someone actually loves the Lord, then the Lord is conquered by that devotee. And he will do everything, even take a subordinate position. Just like for Arjuna, Krishna took a subordinate position by being his driver of his chariot. And Arjuna was ordering him, go here, go there. I want to see this. I want to see that. So just that uh, vision of the Lord being the chariot driver of Arjuna is overwhelming. It just shows how much Krishna has love for his pure devotee, that he'll take a subordinate position. Okay. Any questions anyone would like to ask? Okay, so our takeaway is Bhagavad Gita 7:17. Priyo hi jnanino tyartam aham sa cha mama priya. The Lord says that those who are advanced in transcendental knowledge and know the science of Krishna consciousness are very dear to him. And he is also very dear to them. Those who are actually in perfect knowledge of the science of God know that the living entities are superior energy of the Supreme Lord. Energy of the Supreme Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita's 7th chapter. The material energy is inferior and the living entities are superior energy. Energy and the energetic are not different. The energetic means he's the source of energy. Energies possess the same quality as the energetic. Persons who are in full knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies, and knowing their own constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Lord, are certainly very, very dear to the Lord. Persons, however, who may not even be conversant with the knowledge of the Supreme Personality, but who always think of the Lord with love and faith, feeling that he is great and that they are his parts and parcels, ever his servitors, are even more favored by him. The particular significance of this verse is that the Lord is addressed as Vatsala. Vatsala means always favorably disposed. The Lord's name is Bhakta Vatsala. The Lord is famous as Bhakta Vatsala, which means that he is always favorably inclined to the devotees, whereas he is never addressed anywhere in the Vedic literature as Jnani Vatsala. So, so there, in the same way, in Bhagavad Gita 7:17, it says, Priyo hi jnanino tyatam aham sa cha mama priya. The Lord says that those who are advanced in transcendental knowledge and know the science of Krishna consciousness are very dear to him. And he also is very dear to him, and he also is very dear to them. Those who are actually in perfect knowledge of the science of God know that the living entities are superior energy of the Supreme Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter. The material energy is inferior and the living entities are superior energy. Energy and the energetic are not different. So energetic means the person who's the origin of the energy, and that's Krishna. Persons who are in full knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies and knowing their own constitutional position, are certainly very, very dear to the Lord. Persons, however, who may not even be conversant with the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who always think of the Lord with love and faith, feeling that he is great and that they are his parts and parcels, ever, meaning forever, his servitors, are even more favored by him. The particular significance of this verse is that the Lord is addressed as Vatsala. Vatsala means always favorably disposed, always thinking positively, uh, and always thinking about offering service to the Lord. The Lord's name is Bhaktavatsala. The Lord is famous as Bhaktavatsala, which means that he is always favorably inclined to the devotees, whereas he is never addressed anywhere in the Vedic literature as Jnani Vatsala. So the Jnanis are the ones who are uh, knowledgeable and perform rituals, but they may not really have pure love and devotion for the Lord. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. Are there any questions and comments? So our takeaway today is Bhagavad Gita 7:17. Priyo hi jnanino chatam aham sa cha mama priya. The Lord says that those who are advanced in transcendental knowledge and know the science of Krishna consciousness are very dear to him, and he is also very dear to them. Those who are actually in perfect knowledge of the science of God know that the living entities are superior energy of uh, the Supreme Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter. The material energy is inferior, and living entities are superior energy. Energy and the energetic are non-different. So energetic means the source of the energy. Therefore, the source of the energy is Krishna, and the energetic are the devotees that follow Krishna. Therefore, energies possess the same quality as the energetic. Persons who are full in knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies and knowing their own constitutional position, which is subordinate to the Lord and always engaged in the service of the Lord, are certainly very, very, two varies. That means very important. Are certainly very, very dear to the Lord. So that's what we should try to be. We should try to have full knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies and knowing our own constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, we become certainly very, very dear to the Lord. Okay, that's our takeaway. If you want to be very, very dear to the Lord, then we must hear the knowledge of personality of God every day and analyze his different energies and know at the same time our own, let's say, constitutional position. We are always going to be subordinate to the Lord. We should never get puffed up and think we are equal or greater than the Lord. So we analyze the different energies of the Lord, knowing at the same time our own constitutional position as being always subordinate to the Lord. Such a person is very, very dear to the Lord. Then in the next statement, it's for persons who may not be conversant with the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who always think but who always think be conversant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who always think, of the Lord with love and faith, feeling that he is great and that they are parts and parcels, ever his servitors, are even more favored by him. Okay. So that's what we should aim for. We may not know everything about the Lord, but we always think of the Lord with love and faith, feeling that he is great and that we are his parts and parcels and forever his servitors, then such persons are even more favored by him. So this is confidential knowledge. The particular significance of this verse is that the Lord is addressed as Vatsala. Vatsala means always favorably disposed. The Lord's name is Bhaktavatsala. The Lord is famous as Bhaktavatsala, which means that he's always favorably inclined to the devotees, whereas he is never addressed anywhere in the Vedic literature as Jnani Vatsala. So the takeaway is that if we become a genuine devotee of the Lord without any material purpose, the only purpose is to please the Lord eternally with our devotional service, then we become very, very dear to the Lord. And he will help us in every way possible. But if we have a material purpose in worshiping the Lord, that is not pure devotional service. So we may be blessed by the Lord with certain amenities, but the real benediction of the Lord will not be there. So what is the real benediction? One loses all desire for sense gratification and completely surrenders to the Lord through pure devotional service without any material motive. So that means Vatsala, favorably disposed. So this Bhakta Vatsala means the Lord is famous as Bhakta Vatsala, which means that he is always favorably inclined to the devotees, whereas he is never addressed anywhere in the Vedic literature as Jnani Vatsala. Okay, so the Jnanis are not on the same level as the Bhaktas. All right, we'll stop right there, and that's our takeaway. That the Jnanis are not on the same level as the Bhaktas. And that's why the Lord's name is Bhaktavatsala, always inclined to helping and protecting his pure devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare. Yeah, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says that the ideal jnani is someone who surrenders to Krishna.
Yes.
Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapastate.
Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlava. Yes. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And don't be a jnani, be a bhakta. That's our teaching today.
Very well. Are there any other questions online? If not, we'll regroup in the evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
The question is there a difference, Guru Maharaj, the Gnani that Krishna is referring in the Bahunam Janmanamante Vasudeva Sarvamiti? Is there a difference between the Gnani and Bhakta? Because in that verse, Krishna is pointing whoever the Gnani, whoever is the Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So Krishna is referring to such Gnani is the highest, Aham Sachameva Priyaha. So I was wondering, is there a difference at all between a perfect Jnani and Bhakta?
Well, the purport today says persons who are in full knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies and knowing their own constitutional position, are certainly very, very dear to the Lord. Persons, however, who may not even be conversant with the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but who always think of the Lord with love and faith, feeling that he is great and that they are his parts and parcels, ever his servitors, are even more favored by him. That's the answer to your question, I think. The particular significance of this verse is that the Lord is addressed as Vatsala. Vatsala means always favorably disposed. The Lord's name is Bhakta Vatsala, so he's always favorably disposed to his pure devotee. The Lord is famous as Bhakta Vatsala, which means that he is always favorably inclined to the devotees, whereas he is never addressed anywhere in the Vedic literature as Jnani Vatsala. So, it says, persons who are in full knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies and knowing their own constitutional position as the eternal servants of the Lord, are certainly very, very dear to the Lord. That is our takeaway right there. And does that answer your question?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I think when we say Gnani, we refer to so-called Gnanis who are very conversant with the Vedas. But actual Gnani is the one who surrenders to Krishna.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are many pundits. There are many, you go to college, and you have doctorates and people who are doctorates in Vedic knowledge. That doesn't mean that they're favored by the Lord. Yeah, they have a mundane understanding of the Lord, but they're not actually in love with the Lord. So, therefore, it says here, persons who are in full knowledge of the personality of Godhead, analyzing his different energies and knowing their own constitutional position, are certainly very, very dear to the Lord. Persons, however, who may not even be conversant with knowledge of the Supreme Personality, but who always think of the Lord with love and faith, feeling that he is great and that they are his parts and parcels, ever his servitors, are even more favored by him. So that's our takeaway right there. We might not be perfectly knowledgeable about all the energies of the Lord and so forth, but if we have love and faith for the Lord, feeling that he is great and they are his parts and parcels, and ever his servitors, are even more favored by the Lord. There it is. That's our takeaway for today. Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
We have to thank Prabhupada for his purport. Without him, we would not understand anything. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.